Good morning. Welcome to today's edition of the Weather Desk from 13 News Now Plus on the Plus app. Thanks for finding us here. I'm meteorologist Craig Moeller, and I'm happy to talk to you about today's top weather headlines. And honestly, across much of the country, there's not a lot going on. There is a storm system bringing rain and some snow to the East Coast. We'll run through our weather headlines, and this is the top one. Again, wet weather impacting the eastern U.S. Now, aside from that, the central U.S. and the western U.S. actually in pretty good shape right now. But we're going to also talk about something really cool coming up. NASA's getting ready to launch. It's a single launch, but there are two missions aboard that. One to study the heavens and going to give us some insights as to the design and kind of history of our universe as they're going to be mapping all of the galaxies that you can see. It's incredible what they're going to be doing. And then another part of it, the second part of this mission, is a second thing that is going to be monitoring the sun and space weather from solar flares and solar winds, coronal mass ejections. It's really two cool experiments, and they're going up on the same rocket. So excited to talk to you about that. We'll hear from one of the project leads with NASA on that in just a little bit. Then we're going to turn our attention back to the tropics while the Atlantic basin is quiet. Different story in the South Pacific. They've had a lot of activity recently, and I'll show you what we're looking at out there right now in the South Pacific. So some different things to talk about. Then, of course, we'll come back to Hampton Roads, kind of extended forecast, some other things to share with you. But we're going to start off with the Northeast U.S. and the fact that we are looking at snow from Maine across the southern tier of Canada. We've got some unsettled weather around Lake Ontario. You can see rain across much of New York State. But once you come into the southern part of Vermont and New Hampshire and into Maine, we've got the snow here. And the snow's been coming down. You can see around Manchester. And we'll take a little closer look as we zoom in here. A little bit more mixing at the beach right now around Hampton Beach and down through Newburyport and Little Neck. So the snow is continuing in Manchester. We've got some mixing in Hampton. You can see our live cameras. These are different pictures of these East Coast, different impacts being felt by the system. Manchester, it is snow, and look at those large flakes coming down, snow piling up. You see the ground is covered. And at Hampton Beach, there's more of that rain mixing in. The coastal temperatures just a little bit warmer and taking some of that snow and kind of melting it in the lowest levels. So that's what we're looking at in terms of our radar images and those live cameras. Now, as we come down a little bit farther, you take a look, New York City and Long Island, basically just some showers right now. It's really not too bad. There's some breaks as you head down into New Jersey and you head back farther to the west, you pick up more rain showers there. Farther to the west and to the southwest, Baltimore, we're getting rain across Baltimore and D.C., light showers as well. Farther to the south, you can see it looks like there's some sprinkles showing up, but honestly, as I've been checking the weather roundup, and this is something that the National Weather Service every hour puts out all the surface observations from around the region. A lot of this wasn't making it down to the ground. Now, the stuff up to the north, once you get up towards D.C. and Baltimore, there is rain there. And back towards Richlands and some of the other areas, we've had some reports of light showers. But this stuff here largely has been evaporating as it's been falling. So we're not really seeing much across Hampton Roads right now. We are finding increasing clouds, though. And this is what's going to be interesting to watch as we go through the afternoon. We are going to see more and more of this rain kind of developing out to the west and then coming in. So we'll look for that, and I'll time all of that out. The rain is associated with a cold front that is a little farther to the west. I can put the winds on, and you can see what's going on. Today, a very big surge of warm air coming up along the mid-Atlantic and up into the northeast coastline here. That's why you're looking at rain in these areas. Our temperatures in Hampton Roads surging up close to 72, maybe 73 degrees here. As we take a look tomorrow, behind this cold front, temperatures are going to drop back to average around 56 or so for a high. So cooler air coming in behind the front. We'll get another brief warm up for Saturday, and then a really significant push of colder air coming up Sunday into Monday. And again, I'll have more on the local forecast in the mid-Atlantic. What I wanted to show you, though, is a big picture. This storm is obviously having a lot of impact on the northeast U.S. and those rain chances coming down through our area. You might wonder, are we going to see any thunderstorms? There's a chance we'll get a few thunderstorms from this, but they'll be fairly isolated. And at this point, the Storm Prediction Center out of Norman, Oklahoma, they're not putting us in an area that they're really targeting for severe development. But remember, the storm doesn't have to be severe to be dangerous. If you get lightning and you have a thunderstorm, by definition, thunderstorm, a storm with enough convection to produce some lightning and thunder, that lightning is dangerous. You may not get the powerful gusty winds with these storms, but certainly dangerous lightning. So we'll continue to watch and see if we do get some of that. Now, I want to talk to you again behind this front, a little bit of a cool down, but we're generally looking at a lot of sunshine, and things have been very quiet across the central U.S. So I'm not overly concerned with this. You can see with the live radar, we're not looking at much. We'll get through most of the day in good shape. Look for the rain late afternoon and into the evening. We're going to turn our attention over to the West Coast, and you don't see anything showing up on the radars right now for the California coastline, and offshore things are pretty quiet as well. That's pretty exciting because NASA is getting ready to launch 2 separate missions on the same rocket. Think of this, it's kind of like a rideshare into space. Now, the first mission, Sphere-X, is a space telescope that will map the entire sky in more than 100 colors. It's going to have this incredible, brilliant definition as they map out the sky. And the second mission, Punch, includes 4 small satellites that will study the outer portion of the sun. I had the opportunity to speak with NASA about how this will help scientists better understand the universe. Joining me now is Jennifer Rocca with NASA. Jennifer, I got to ask you, coming straight out of the gates, what are you most excited about with this upcoming mission, or I guess missions?
Well, I'm really excited because I've been working on Sphere-X for about 10 years. I actually was the lead of the proposal when we proposed Sphere-X. And so I saw it when it's just a drawing on a napkin. So Sphere-X is an all-sky survey. And so what we're going to do is orbit Earth at low Earth orbit. And instead of looking down at Earth, look out at space. And we're taking a 3-dimensional map of the entire celestial sphere. That's all of the sky outside of Earth. It's really the first time that we're doing this with our rainbow-colored glasses.
Yeah,
and
nice.
102 channels. So we're going to get full spectroscopy of the entire celestial sphere, a 3-dimensional map. That just means that all of the galaxies in all of space are going to be in our field of view at some point during our mission. What's really special about Sphere-X is because we're doing that all-sky survey, we're really capturing all of the light in the universe. And because we're doing it in these multiple channels, we can actually go back in time and recreate what the structure of that light was just after the Big Bang. And the idea of that is that scientists can try to understand the physics of the inflation of the universe that brought us to the universe that we see today, and also make some predictions about where it's going in the future.
Now, the other part of this launch is the Punch mission, and I just think it's so cool, kind of like a ride share to, space. Talk to us about the Punch mission.
So Punch is a mission that's partnered with us. When we were first selected for implementation with Sphere-X, we chose our launch vehicle, and we chose a Falcon 9. And the Falcon 9 is really big. In fact, it's so big that we could stack 3 Sphere-X inside of the launch vehicle and still lift it off the ground. So when that happened, NASA knew that there was excess capacity, and the rideshare office helped us find a rideshare partner. Punch is a heliophysics mission, and they're studying the solar wind and really helping us understand more about space weather, and that's a really big consideration, not just for humans on the Earth, but also understanding, the environment that we launch into. We're really complementary partners because we really want to be in the same part of the sky, so we like our orbits to be near each other. We have very similar contamination requirements, meaning our instruments want to be the same kind of clean, so it's actually really easy for us to process together and get mounted on the launch vehicle at the same time.
What do you think about the future of kind of this ride-sharing idea? Do you think this is something NASA is kind of leaning into, or was this just super convenient that this one worked out?
I I think, the reality of launch services is that we are bringing to bear a lot larger launch vehicles. And for some of these small competed missions, this really does make sense. It's a cost savings to the taxpayer. It helps us take advantage of excess lift capacity and not waste that when we go up into space. And of course, we get more science per dollar when we do this together. So although Punch and SphereX are the first independent science missions that are going together, rideshare has been something that's been happening with CubeSats and smaller missions before now. And I think with the success of us going together in this instance, you'll see more of this in the future. And I think it's a really exciting way for us to do more science with less money.
One last question before I let you go. Here in Hampton Roads, we have NASA Langley, we have Wallops, as a launch facility. What would you say to maybe some of our younger viewers right now that are checking out this interview about exploring careers or opportunities in space?
So the one thing I would remind young people is that if you have an interest in space or science, there is a place for everybody. You don't have to be awesome at math. You don't have to have science as your favorite subject. I have people on my team that are artists. I have people on my team who are great at communications. I have people on my team who are great writers. It takes a giant village to put these missions up in space, and we want more people to recruit to our ranks so that we can do more things and discover more things in space.
Jennifer, thank you so much. This is a thrill for me to talk to you. Good luck with the launch, and thank you for all that you've done to help make all of this possible. Good luck. And I always enjoy getting a chance to talk to those NASA experts about these missions. It's fascinating. Now, this mission is going to take 2 years, and the launch is expected to happen Friday from the Vandenberg Space Force facility, the launch facility out in California. So it's got to be depending on the weather conditions. Right now, things look pretty good. We'll have a lot more for this as we go through the day on Friday and keep you updated. You can find the full interview on the 13 News Now Plus app. So again, you're finding it here, but we're going to have even more information available. It was about an 8-minute conversation. She went into some other topics that were just great. So if you're really interested in that, check it out again on the 13 News Now Plus app, and you'll also find that at 13newsnow.com. Now, right now, astronauts, there's a couple of them that NASA has been working to bring home after, a week-long mission. What was set up to be a week-long mission stretched into 250 days. All right. So we have Sunny Williams and Butch Wilmore. They spoke exclusively with ABC's Gio Benitez about their longer than expected stay at the International Space Station.
And liftoff of Starliner and Atlas V.
When veteran astronauts Butch Wilmore and Sunny Williams launched into space last June, it was supposed to be a week-long mission to test out the Boeing Starliner. But after a series of technical issues, NASA lost confidence in the Boeing spaceship and delayed their return. Now this morning, over 8 months later, they're still in space, along with astronaut Nick Hague, and speaking with me.
So this idea that you need to be rescued, that's not how you feel there.
No, I would say that's not how we feel. Since we've been here, we've had a way to get home if we really needed to in an emergency.
There's many ways to characterize it. Stranded, I don't think, is one of them because we're on the space station.
It was just days ago when Elon Musk, who owns the SpaceX ship that will bring them home, said the two astronauts were left in space by the Biden administration for political reasons.
Is that the case?
Political reasons, I have not heard that. I'm not sure that could be the case based on what I know. We came up here with a plan to test out the spacecraft and return. The plan changed. We also came up here with a backup plan, fully trained to do everything that you can do on the International Space Station, because in this business, nothing is a given.
Since then, they've joined the NASA mission Crew 9, Nick Hague flying in on that SpaceX Crew Dragon with room for Butch and Sunny.
What's the first thing you're going to do when you get back to planet Earth?
That's easy. I'm going to hug and kiss my wife and my daughters. That's simple.
Is there something that the three of you are going to miss about being on the space station?
Stuff like that. I mean, floating around in zero gravity and being able to do what it seems impossible challenges your imagination.
What's your message to Americans who were watching these narratives unfold of you being stranded and stuck in space, and they were so worried about you?
We're thankful for your support, and that's what Americans do. We lift each other up and keep each other going.
Man, it's incredible, and they seem like they're in great spirits, so we'll look forward to welcoming them back home to Earth. I want to talk to you about the tropics, and here in the Atlantic, you know, the Atlantic season, as we mentioned yesterday, the day before, we still got a long time before the official start, June 1st, and the Atlantic basin is very quiet right now. You know, this is the area we call the main development zone, or the main development region across the tropical Atlantic, and there's very little cloud cover there. The Caribbean is clear as a bell. Most of the Gulf pretty much cloud free. There are a few clouds in the central Gulf, but not a lot of activity here. I'll tell you what, though, in the South Pacific, it's a different story. This week, there were 3 tropical cyclones spinning all at the same time near the Fiji and Australia. And even though this region is now in the peak of the cyclone season, which runs November through April, this is somewhat unusual to have 3 systems all going at the same time. The last time 3 storms happened in the South Pacific at the same time was back in 2021. Now, cyclones, that's just another name for hurricanes. In that part of the world, they call what we would refer to as a hurricane, they call them cyclones. What we're going to talk about right now is a severe cyclone, okay? This is essentially the equivalent of a Category 4 or major hurricane. There, it's called a severe cyclone, and its name is Alfred. Alfred is moving right now to the south, and it is actually forecast to come maybe south and a little bit southwest and then turn to the southeast. I was reading from the Meteorological Center there in Australia that is monitoring all this. They expect this to stay offshore, but it is something that we will continue to watch. So, you know, it's interesting. Again, we take, you know, the winter time. We don't worry about the tropics here, obviously, but down in the South Pacific, when it's our winter time, it's their summertime, and this is the peak of that cyclone season down in the South Pacific. All right, we're going to talk about our weather headlines here in Hampton Roads. We do have another very warm day. I mentioned that. Temperatures up to 72 degrees today, maybe even mid-70s for some areas. We've got our chances for late afternoon rain and possibly a few stray storms. We're also going to be watching temperature swings through the weekend. We're talking about a big swing coming up from Saturday to Sunday. Sunday and Monday will be really chilly as we start the upcoming work week. Looking back on February, we've had our warm days, and I've shaded those in red. We've had our cold days colored in blue, and after that really frigid week last week with the heavy snow coming Wednesday into Thursday morning, you can see the temperatures have recovered nicely over the past few days. We've been well above average, which is 56, both Tuesday and Wednesday. You see how warm it was today. Again, low 70s. And then as we go tomorrow, we're going to be back close to average. So it will be cooler tomorrow, but temperatures tomorrow just getting back to really where we should be for this time of year. As far as rainfall goes, we've had a lot this February. We're about 1/3 of an inch outside the top 10 on record for Norfolk, and we're going to get some more rain coming up this evening. I was looking at some of the models were suggesting we could get 1/4 of an inch, maybe a little bit more than that. And some areas just south of the airport could see 1/2 an inch to an inch, depending on how things play out. So we'll watch that as we could see those numbers bumping up, putting us into the top 10 wettest Februarys on record. You take a look. Today's high, 72. Cooler tomorrow, back to average, 56. Around 65 on Saturday. Some big events going on this weekend. There's a one-city marathon and the race weekend. They've got some shorter events coming up on Saturday, but the half marathon and the marathon run Sunday. It will be a little breezy for the one-city marathon. North-northwest winds probably in that 15 to 20 mile per hour range. So some of those exposed stretches where you can face that wind, you may be feeling it a little bit, and it could be a bit gusty. But other than that, mostly sunny skies through the weekend. Looks really good. Monday's going to be chilly, but mostly sunny. And then we're going to warm it back up. A few more clouds, slight chance of a shower by the middle part of next week. Again, I'll show you more in our extended forecast coming up. Here's the Thompson Creek Window Company sky view. You'll notice the fountains here at City Center and Oyster Point, Newport News. That stuff is blowing a little bit. It is a bit breezier than it was 24 hours ago. The winds were so light yesterday. Now we're looking at south-southwest winds at 23 miles per hour. There was a warehouse fire yesterday in Portsmouth, and as there were over 80 firefighters responding to put out that blaze, they had light winds, and we had a great temperature profile. We didn't have any problems with the smoke being pinned at the surface. We didn't have flames being fueled by strong winds. Nothing like that yesterday. If we had that fire today, it would be a much more difficult blaze for those firefighters to deal with because the winds have picked up. We're at 65 at the airport, and here we are just after 9 o'clock. So it is very, very warm today. Small craft advisories are up now for the bay and for the ocean, with those gusts to about 25 knots in the seas building 3 to 5 feet. All right, we've got a low tide coming up, 2:43. Taking a look at the satellite, the radar images, again, it looked like for a while, oh, we were getting some showers. None of that stuff, none of it ever made it down to the ground. So we've seen varying amounts of clouds. We are dry. The wet weather is still out to the west. You can see as we go through the afternoon, it's going to get closer. So through noon, we're still dry here in Hampton Roads. Temperatures warming up close to 70. Into the afternoon, low 70s. You're going to find that line of showers with some potential embedded thunderstorms setting up out to the west. And with this orientation from the northeast to the southwest, there could be some locally higher amounts of rain. But in general, we're going to deal with this coming into play. By 5:30, 6 o'clock, we start dealing with wet weather. The evening commute may be a little messy if this rain develops the way it's looking like it will. And then into the evening, good chances for rain. This rain heavier at times. That's why I think we could see some of those totals getting up around a half an inch or more, maybe an inch in some spots, especially down to the south, as some of the models were indicating earlier. This stuff moves out as we go past 10 o'clock, and really after about 11 or so, most of this area should be drying out, the rain continuing a little bit longer for the southern part of the Outer Banks. Eventually, that too will clear, and that sets up a beautiful Friday, a cooler Friday. Highs only in the mid to upper 50s, but it is going to be nice with mostly sunny skies. Winds shifting back to the south later Friday, and as we get into Saturday, temperatures jumping back up. Now, for today, the afternoon highs close to 72 officially, low to mid 70s inland. We'll look for the rain to develop later this afternoon, maybe a couple degrees cooler in Virginia Beach. On the eastern shore, temperatures in the low 60s, Melfa to Cape Charles, cooler up at Chincoteague, temperatures in the upper 60s to near 70 for the peninsula. We'll look for the showers during the mid to late afternoon up that way. And then as we get into North Carolina, you'll notice the drier symbols here, generally partly cloudy. It's going to take a while. The rain is going to come down this way as well, but it's going to be more likely into the evening. So that's why you see those drier symbols. Ahoskie, Gatesville, these areas will see some showers developing by late afternoon. Overnight tonight, evening showers. Look for the rain, maybe a few thunderstorms, and then clearing and cooler as we head towards sunrise. Tomorrow's high around 56, so mostly sunny. And you're going to notice it's mild. It's close to average, but it will certainly be a lot cooler than what we experienced today. Here's the rest of the 7-day forecast. The temperatures do get back up to 65 on Saturday, 43 on Sunday. That's going to feel chilly, but not too terribly bad. We're not looking at highs in the 30s. As we get to Monday, 45, 58 on Tuesday, slight chance of a shower Tuesday or Wednesday. Generally, things are looking pretty good as we get March going. So we'll look forward to that. All right, I want to remind you guys, you can find me on social media. Search Facebook, Craig Moeller, Instagram. You can give me a follow there, Craig Moeller TV, and on X, formerly Twitter, at 13 Craig Moeller. And remember, you can always download the 13 News Now mobile app to take our radar and our forecast with you on the go. Tremendous resource. All the access to breaking news and breaking weather information. We'll keep you updated whenever weather impacts the Mid-Atlantic and Hampton Roads. And you can access a radar anywhere from any part of the country or around the world anytime you want that information. It's all right there. So be sure to download the 13 News Now app. Hopefully you've enjoyed this edition of the Weather Desk and our talk with NASA about the upcoming launch for tomorrow. Fingers crossed that goes off well. Remember, again, you can always get the full forecast here, 13 News Now, anytime, anywhere on your time. Hope you enjoyed the Weather Desk. We'll see you next time.